His headlights shined dimly through the starless night. The rain splattered and danced across his windshield as he sighed at the thought of another 2 hours of driving through the rain. Then the radio played a song he hadn't heard in a while, November Rain by Guns N' Roses. Immediately, his mind traveled back in time to one of the best moments of his life. He laid with his back on the floor beside his best friend. Behind their heads sat two massive speakers playing November Rain at full blast. The vibrations of the song ran through their bodies like lightning, striking them dead with joy and excitement. Then the guitar solo put their minds and bodies through an epic journey of astonishment and pride. Pride that they, them, and only them were the only ones that were given the opportunity to listen to that song on that cold carpet floor on that day with that friend. He was brought back to the present moment with a nostalgic glaze in his eyes. Turning the song up to full volume, he let his ears absorb the happy memories and sounds of his youth. Just minutes earlier, his drive seemed quite meaningless and torturous, but now the 3 hours behind him and the 2 hours ahead of him, all were quite well very worth it. All just to hear that one song and feel as if he was back in that one moment with a friend he hadn't thought of in a while, but now missed more than all the world. That is the beauty of music. Music is the alchemist of memory, turning the intangible to the tangible, the past to the present. It allows one to travel back in time and feel the joy, sorrow, and angst or excitement of whatever memory you dive into. Here, the world is fresh and new, as if you were living in it for the very first time. Then and only then do you remember what it took for you to get from that moment to this one right now. Whether that causes you dread or delight, it will always bring closure. That moment still exists, yet it is far away in a place you will never return to again. And that's okay. There will always be another song, another memory, and another friend. Perhaps that's what makes life worth living. Those little moments that, once lived, live with us until the day we die, only popping up when we need them the most. Those moments give gratitude and purpose to life and instill the desire to live them again. What if you could live through those moments again? What if you could live this entire life again? Consequently, I now quote a passage from Nietzsche's aphorism, The Greatest Weight. What if some night a demon were to sneak upon you into your loneliest loneliness and say to you, this life as you now live it and have lived it, you will have to live once more and innumerable times more, and there will be nothing new in it, but every pain and every joy and every thought and every sigh and everything immeasurably small or great in your life must return to you. All in the same succession and sequence. Even this spider and this moonlight between the trees, and even this moment and I myself. The eternal hourglass of existence is turned upside down again and again, and you with it, a dust grain of dust. Thus is Nietzsche's idea of the eternal recurrence. Indeed, such a proclamation is a great weight, perhaps the greatest of all weights, for it adds an infinite importance to each and every decision you make henceforth and until the day you die. You are bounded to live this life, this exact life, in the same way, the same sequence, and with all the same thoughts, friends, family, and experiences eternally, indefinitely, and forever. Forever, you are damned to live through the same childhood embarrassments, the same breakups, the same deaths, and all the same depressive episodes. So what do we make of this grand thought experiment? Do we cower away and cry out in desperation and rage? Do we loathe our return to this life, which is nothing but desolation and suffering? Do we panic and throw ourselves off a cliff into the deep, dark depths of eternal rebirth? Well, cower, cry, and shout all that you'd like. It won't do you any good, for you will continue to cower, cry, and shout in this life, on this earth, in these shoes, and with these eyes for the rest of eternity. And so, the eternal recurrence leaves us with two problems. 1. How do we reconcile our past? 2. How do we go about living our future? The past is something to be overcome, for the self shall always overcome and be entrenched in the act of becoming, but shall never be. This is the main idea behind Nietzsche's Übermensch, or overhuman in English. This concept is explored in depth in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, where Zarathustra, the sage-like hermit protagonist, declares that humankind must overcome who they are and transcend to the overhuman. Yet not even the most perfect of souls can ever become such a thing, as the human being is in a constant state of change, a constant state of becoming. Therefore, we must forgive our past selves, for they were never going to exist in a permanent state, nor shall we, and nor will our future selves. And so, as we move on and into the future, to keep this in mind and to adapt and grow within the world around us is to embody the overhuman, or at least the striving towards the overhuman. But how should we adapt and grow in accordance with our environment? Indeed, this environment and these adaptations and these actions towards growth shall be repeated once more and innumerable times more in the same way, shape, and form for the rest of eternity. So how do we approach them? This is something that only the individual can assess and answer to. In Nietzsche's belief, to strive for the overhuman is to continuously strive to become one's best self. This, however, according to him, requires struggle, challenge, and authenticity. As such, the best of all possible ways to live through this eternal recurrence of events is through the experiencing of struggle. However, it is important that one keeps in mind the difference between suffering and struggle, for it is all too often that the two terms are deemed synonymous. To suffer is to live hopelessly as a victim of torment and despair. To struggle is to fight hopefully as an enemy of torment and despair. But is this enough? Is this sufficient to give your infinite identical lives meaning? Well, according to Albert Camus, the struggle itself towards the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. Indeed, it is the natural instinct of the animal to survive. To survive is to struggle. To struggle is to fight. To fight is to love, and to love is to have meaning. Thus, it is so that without struggle, without fight, without love, there is no meaning. And thus, upon our deathbed, as we prepare to relive our life, that very same life, in that very same way, we may think back to all that pain and despair, all that sorrow and depression, all that agony and angst, and know that it was all worth it, and it will forever be worth it, just so we can experience those little moments suspended in time and space.